be happy this year. I am going to make myself happy.
What is up with the universe?
I'm given the gift of time.
Wash your hands!
Inside good. Outside bad.
Bye. No touch, no touch. I want to go!
From now on, I'm not getting out of this chair, ever. Okay? From now on, this chair is the one.
I discovered I'm able to count all my teeth using just my tongue.
This kept getting worse and worse. It should have been called It's a Sucky Life, and just when you think it can't suck anymore, it does.
This year was supposed to be great. I'm fine. I'm fine. Totally fine.
I lost a whole year. I can't believe it. This is so unfair.
Oh, Phoebes, it'll be okay.
Will it? Will it?
A little bit of fun with There For You. We're in this series called There For You. Thank you for being here. I want to share from my heart just for a minute. Back in March, our COVID shut us all down, and we went online. And then in the summer, we had this great opportunity to go down to the farm. We all worship together at the farm. Wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? We're going to do that again at Christmas time. Isn't that cool? And when we first came together, I preached a message, and I still believe this message is really important for us today. And the theme of the message was, we need grace-filled unity. Now, I'm going to talk just for a minute. I never thought I would see the time when Thanksgiving would become a divisive holiday. But here's what I know. Some of you and your families are so divided over one thing. The definition of what's safe for you is different than the definition of what's safe for someone else. And there's lots of judgment on both sides. And we see this so true today. I talk to families, and it's sad to me because there's a sense of division that is really hard. Now, COVID not only is dividing families, but it's also dividing churches. It's kind of interesting. There's a divergence of views. There's people that have different views of what's safe and what's right and what's wrong, and there's lots of judgment on both sides. You know, when we started to get together, as we came back together, I said, here's what's really important, that we have grace-filled unity. And I think I'm going to ask you to say, that's never more important than it is today. It's so important. Because I don't know whether you noticed it today, but I think we were a little respectfully rebellious today. Now, what do I mean by that? We sang. We have a band. We're all together. Last week, after Pastor Jason, who did a great job, and people were walking out, people stopped me and they just grabbed me and they said, Pastor, please tell me we're going to meet together next week. Please don't shut down. And I just thought, man, my heart went out, and I said, I wonder what happened. Well, at 11 o'clock, there's an announcement, and all the things go on. And he said, what's going to happen this week? Now, here's what I want you to understand. Here's why I think we can have grace-filled unity. Because we have people that have all kinds of different views, but we love each other anyway. Even if we disagree, even if you think I'm crazy, even if you think I'm wrong. What I love is that many of you have learned to have grace-filled unity with each other, even in the divergence of political views and views on COVID and all that sort of thing. And what we've done is we've provided a way for us to be unified differently. For people that need a little bit more safety and that need to stay home, they're staying home and they're singing on the couch. I was talking with someone, personal messages with someone, and said, "Hey, when you're in person singing out loud, just know this: we're singing. Our whole family's sitting on the couch and we're singing today." And then I think of those that are in the car. We have more cars than we normally do out there. And I love that. A little more safety for them. There's a little sense of that. But the thought is that they are singing in their cars. And the thought is that we thought of those that are on the couch. We thought of those that are in the cars. And we thought of you that are in person. And we are unified. And the truth is that we've never been able to reach more people than we ever have because of our reach that goes way outside of these buildings. And we're not done reaching people. We're going to keep doing it. That's why we're doing the Christmas gift. That's why we're going back to the farm for Christmas Eve. That's why we're going to continue to do something. But I want you to understand something from my heart. This is just for free. I know you didn't pay for this. But the reason we're having a respectful rebellion is because, for three reasons. Number one, we can worship God safely. I just want you to understand, we can worship God safely here. This place is safer than Costco. It's safer than your grocery store. And Lord help us, it's safer than the emergency room. I guarantee that. One of the cool things that we've done is we bought equipment that makes this place safe. And for the last couple of months, we've been meeting together and we haven't had outbreaks. And there's a reason. It's because we're doing a good job of providing a safe place for healthy people to worship. So you don't have to be afraid to come in here. We're going to social distance. We have overflow in the foyer. We have the cars. We have that at home. We have a safe place for people to worship. It's safe. And I mean, we have hundreds of preschool kids that come every week here. We're having in-person school, and you don't hear about the outbreak that's going on. Why? Because we're doing a good job of providing a safe place. And so that's why today we're having a safe worship experience. You don't have to worry about that. Let me tell you the second thing. Why we respectfully will do this. Because when Jesus was coming down the hill and on his way into Jerusalem, I remember the story. There was a bunch of kids and some adults that were gathered around him, and they were singing praises to Jesus. And the Pharisees came up and said, "Hey, stop. Tell him to quit singing." And what did Jesus say? If they don't cry out, the rocks will. And I'm convinced of this. The second reason is because I need to sing, because we need to sing. Now, I know some people, they come to church and they only want to hear the message. Some people only want to hear the music. I hear that all the time. I hear a little of both. But the truth is that we both need the Spirit and the truth in our life. We need both. And what happens inside of all of us when we worship, when you set aside your worries, you set aside your cares, you start singing to God, there's something that happens that can't happen any other way. I worship because I need to worship. I worship because it changes me. We worship because it's a part of our everyday worship experience. As long as we have an in-person service, we will always worship together. As long as we can safely do it, we're going to worship together. I just want you to know that. As long as we can safely do it. And I want to share one more reason. I want to respectfully cooperate with our government and with our community. Last week I was asked not to sing, but I respectfully rebel. And here's why. Because in March, when we were shut down, you know who didn't shut down? Gold Creek. We stayed open. We kept Hope Creek open. We served 3 times as many families as we've ever served before. We had hundreds of volunteers coming in. We created a safe place where we could serve our community because our community needed us to step up in the crisis, and we stepped up. And on top of that, our sheriff's chaplains went out. We never, ever missed a call. When a call came in, a number of our staff or sheriff's chaplains, we went to those homes. We didn't shut down. We kept going, and we kept going to those homes, and we will continue to go to those homes because in the midst of crisis, we're going to continue to be open. When the community needed an emergency shelter, we put in a generator. When the community needed a place for a food bank, we put in a food bank. When the community needed the place for student support, we provided student support. Whatever the community needs, we're there. And what I want you to understand, when we serve the community, there's a moment when we have to step back and say, but when I am worshiping God, nobody can tell us how we should worship our God safely. Now, I'm sharing all that. I just want you to know this, that as long as we can safely get together, we're going to do it. And when we can't, we'll do it digitally. And when we can't, we'll go down to the farm. We're going to find a way to do this. But I'm telling you, we're not done yet. And I'm asking for you, I'm asking you to be full of grace for someone that even disagrees with what I just said. And for someone that has a different point of view. I'm asking for grace-filled unity in the midst of all this. And I appreciate you doing that. Again, thank you very much. And that was just for free. Has nothing to do with the message today. So let's dig in. The message today is the third week of There For You, which is the study in the book of James, which is such a great book. The third week in the book of James is amazing. It's chapter 3. It was written by Jesus' brother. And it talks about the most dangerous thing you could possibly ever have in the world. So I brought it here on the stage, on this table, is the most dangerous thing that has ever existed in the world. There's nothing more dangerous than this. In a moment, I'm going to reveal it to you. So I invite you to ask your neighbor what you think it is. Come on, tell it. What do you think it is? This is the most dangerous thing that ever happened. Chapter 3 of James is all about this. It is the most dangerous thing that you could ever have. Let me show it to you here just a minute. Let me just see. Here it goes. Here we go. It is the flaming tongue. The flaming tongue. And it is dangerous. It worked in the first service. It didn't kill anybody. And we don't think, and I don't, it looks like they have a lot of lighter fluid back there today. This is a cow tongue, and it's a flaming tongue. I want you to think about this. In James chapter 3, it talks about this flaming tongue. So here's the question. Who has the flaming tongue in your house? Okay, just for a minute. If you know who they are, just point them out. Just kind of a woman, if you know. Who's the one in your house that has the flaming tongue? Who's the one that's like that? And when was the last time you were burned by somebody's flaming tongue? Here's another question. When was the last time you were burned? And let me give you a third question. When was the last time you burned somebody else with your flaming tongue? James digs into this. Here's what he says. Verse 26 of chapter 1. And I know it's not chapter 3. We're supposed to start with chapter 3, but I had to go back to chapter 1 because he starts talking about the tongue in chapter 1, and chapter 3, he spends a whole chapter talking about it. He says this, if you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself and your religion is... Okay, help me out a little bit more. If you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you're fooling yourself and your religion is... worthless. What is he saying here? He's just saying that my tongue reflects my faith. You can claim to be religious, but if your tongue is saying the wrong thing, it's not good. What I say matters. Here's a question. Let's just pretend that it's morning, it's 5:30 in the morning, the alarm goes off. What's the first thing your tongue says? Just out of curiosity. Curious. What's the first thing out of your mouth when you roll over and you wake up and the first thing your tongue says is what? What is it? Just kind of turn. I know what some of you say. I'm so tired. When your tongue says that, I have a question for you. Are you tired all day? It's so interesting that our tongue reflects what we believe. And when we say things like, I'm tired, or I hurt all over, or I got this knee. Someone says to you, how are you doing today? Well, I'm not doing that well. I got a bad spot in this knee, and my elbow's kind of bothering me right now, and my ankle's got a little deal here, and I've had a little sinus thing. And it's like, I really didn't want to know that when I ask you how you're doing. But that's what you say. You see, our tongue reflects what we believe. And some people have been saying some things that they need to quit saying. Some people will say, all my family die young. Why are you saying that? Some are saying, I'm afraid. Now, you may have the feelings of fear, but courage is going against those feelings. My words reflect my faith. Here's the question. What do you believe? What are you doing with your words? James goes on to talk about what we should do with our words. In chapter 3, verse 1, he says this, Dear brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers in the church, for we who teach will be judged more strictly. You know what James is saying? He's saying all of us teachers, when we talk, what we say matters. Because if I can't get a control of my tongue, what am I? My religion is? Worthless. We're judged more strictly. Now, he doesn't stop there in verse 2. Here's what he's saying. Indeed, we all make mistakes. And boy, isn't that true? We all make mistakes with our tongues. For if we could control our tongues, we would be perfect and could also control ourselves in every other way. Just look at your neighbor's tongue and just tell him, it's out of control. Just say that. I mean, look at that. It's out of control. Have you ever said things like, did I just say that? I didn't mean to say that. I shouldn't have said that out loud. Or have you ever had this feeling when somebody said something to you, ouch, that really hurt? Or, I really mean to say that. You see, my tongue has control of me. The quote is, if you could control your tongue. Now, I know I'm not perfect either. You know, this week my tongue got wagging a little bit too much. And so I'm just going to give you a little confession. We were looking for something, and my wife and I were in the house, and what we were looking for, she had lost something, and it was sitting on the counter right in front. And I said to my wife, "You're a piece of work." That's not a good thing to say to your wife. Now, I was supposed to have a little help with my laugh track up there, but it didn't work. Yeah, there we go. That's better. And I don't know about you, but when I said that, and I realized what I'd said, and she came up to me and said, "Do you realize what you just called me?" I said, no, I didn't really. Can I pull those words back in my mouth? Because I didn't mean that. No. That's not what I wanted to say. But then the other day, her tongue got wagging. She was a little bit on the other side of the things, and I looked around, and I threw her one of those flip it coins, and she threw it back at me. I mean, it was just like, that's right. You see, Jason doesn't need a soundtrack, but I do, just to let you know when you're supposed to. What could happen if I could control my tongue? You know, if I actually were able to control my tongue, less people would get burned, more good things would happen, and I would encourage more people. James 3 goes on to say this. We can make large horses go wherever we want to by means of a small bit in its mouth. And a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches. But a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And among all the parts of the body, the tongue is the flame of fire. The flaming tongue. It is a whole world of wickedness corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire, for it is set on fire by hell itself. You know what he's talking about here? Our tongue naturally leans toward hell. Our words are burning us and others around us, and James is calling us out on it. And here's what he goes on to say. People can tame all kinds of animals and birds and reptiles and fish, but nobody can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil full of deadly poison. Know what? I've got good news for you. God can tame your flaming tongue. See, no man can tame the tongue, but the God of the universe is the reason that we can control our tongue. But why do I need faith in my life? Why do I need God in my life? I'll tell you why I need God in my life and faith in my life. Because my tongue gets me in trouble. And my tongue is a problem. And my tongue says things and predicts things that happen because I have no control over it. But when I put God in my life, things begin to change. And all of a sudden, this thing that is bent toward evil can be used for good, can say things like, you're not alone, or you don't have to be afraid, or God's not done with you yet, or God's not done with me yet. Now, James goes on to talk further about this tongue. If you are bitterly jealous and there's selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth by boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly and unspiritual and demonic. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. What is selfishness and jealousness? It's about me. It's about me putting someone else down so I can raise myself up. It's about I don't want you to succeed because that will make me look bad. You see, the flaming tongue creates all kinds of disorder of every kind. And you hear words like this: I'm better than you. You don't deserve that. You are worthless. You will never amount to anything. I wish I never, ever knew you. GDU. And words that I can't even use here. You know what's amazing about that? Even as I said those things, some of you have heard those words from leaders in your life, from parents in your life, brothers and sisters, friends who have come to you, and those words have hurt you deeply, and you are wounded today, and you've allowed that tongue to deeply affect your spirit. It's brought disorder and evil of every kind. But there's a good tongue. James says this: the wisdom from above, God's tongue, is first of all pure. It's also peace-loving. It's gentle at all times, willing to yield to others. It's full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism, and it's always sincere. Just look at that verse. God's tongue is pure. It's peace-loving. It's gentle. It's mercy. It's always sincere. And those, James goes on to say, who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. What's going to happen? When we take this thing that is oftentimes used for evil and give it to God's control, all of a sudden we begin to plant seeds, the right kind of seeds in our life, the seeds of peace, the seeds of faith. And we're going to harvest kids that follow God and co-workers that love and learn about God through you, and community that's changed because of our faith. You see, God can use my tongue to plant seeds. And He's going to do it today. I want you to do something. I want you to pull out this card. It's called the God Can card there. It's on your seats. I want you to bow your head just for a moment. in just a couple of moments, I'm reminded today that some that are here, some that are online, and some in their cars have never really ever given their lives over to you, Lord. So with your heads bowed, I invite you right now to just tell God, man, I am not perfect. My tongue has created all kinds of havoc in life. And today, I give you my words to be used for good. I give you the control of my tongue. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to invite you to plant some seeds today. I want you to be there for yourself and for others. I want you to be there for you. On the back of this card, I want you to do 3 things. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a statement to yourself. I want to write a statement to someone that's close to you, and a statement about the future. I did this in first service. This is what I wrote. I'm God's leader for Goat Creek. And I wrote to my wife, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said about the future, God will help us reach out in new ways we've never dreamed about. I don't know what your statements are, but I know this today, that God is going to use you. And these statements that you're going to write down are not to be left on a piece of paper. They're statements that you write down that I want you to say out loud. Whether you say it at lunch or on the way out or in the car or on the couch, wherever you are, I want you to say these out loud. I don't want you to leave them on a piece of paper. But I invite you to pick up that paper. And while you are writing these statements, I want you to hear a song. It's called You Say. This is what God says about you. And I want you to listen to what God's saying about you as you write down what God wants you to write about yourself, and about others, and about the future. Now, before you go, I don't want anyone leaving, because at the end of this, I want to tell you there's something cool going to happen. And you've got to wait to hear it. At the end of the song, I'm going to come back up, and you're going to see something really neat happen. And that means in your cars or on the couch, we're all going to have a moment at the end of this song. So stay all the way through the end of the song. Write this, and I'm going to come back and dismiss you.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong, oh, you say I I find my worth. In you I find my identity. Ooh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I think I am weak, and you say I am held when I keep falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I think I am weak, and you say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Oh, I believe. Yes, I believe what you say of me. I believe.
We're going to close the service in a very unique way. I invite you to stand, please. I want you to think about this. Do you think that God randomly, or do you think that God uses random things to speak to you? I want to give you an opportunity to see that happen today. I've invited staff members, different people up front. And what we want to do is put to work what we said, that somehow the tongue can be used for good. I want to plant some seeds in your life. There's some scriptural statements that have been randomly selected, and each of these across the front have one they want to give you. And if you're in the car, all you have to do is raise your hand, stick your hand outside, and an usher will come and read that to you and then hand it to you outside. If you're online and you're watching from your couch, our host will just, if you'll text them or also just do a personal message to them or write in the comments, they will give you one of these statements. That's for you. And here's what I think is going to happen. God's going to randomly give you a message that's going to plant the seed of faith in your life. That's really cool. So before you go, the way we're going to close today is if you're willing to wait for a little bit, give each other distance and all the safe ways that we do it. But I'm going to invite you to come forward to pick up one of those and to listen to them read this statement to you. And then I want you to take it with you. And I can't wait to hear how God uses this in your life. So if you want to, it's up to you. I invite you to do that. Again, outside, just stick your hand out the window. One of the ushers or people will come and bring a promise to your window. And if you're online, just a chat, or you can text in and we'll get you one. May God bless you as you respond today. And that's the way we're going to close the service.
Hi, I'm Crystal DeHaan. I'm part of our online team here at Gold Creek.
I'm Alex Johnson, executive pastor here at Gold Creek.
So tell us a little more about what does that mean, Alex? What's an executive pastor do here?
It depends on the day, really. It varies a lot. My main job is overseeing finance operations and really trying to help guide of where we're going as a church. I sit in on the executive team with Pastor Dan, Pastor Larry, as well as Pastor Stacy and Cammie, just trying to figure out where we're going, making sure that what we say we're doing, we're going to be doing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then every day it changes, because then the moment we think you got something figured out, especially in this season, you start all over, which happened again this week. It was kind of fun.
And you have been so helpful in guiding us in that. So we thank you for all the effort you've put in to keep our place safe and
that's good.
all
That's
of
good
those
to,
things.
Good to hear, because you never know. You just never know how it's going.
You never know.
But we thank you for joining us, because without you guys joining us online and watching online, I know for my family, that's how my mom and dad watch, is they watch this online every week. They aren't able to be in person just because of my mom's health, and so this is the way that they choose to worship and be a part of it. So we know how vital it is, so we're glad that we can be doing it. And yeah, so but you got to comment. You got to make get on there.
Please,
Type.
I'm sitting here every week just waiting for you guys to talk to me. That's all. I love that Lauren Daigle song that we closed with, and Pastor Dan's message about being positive.
Okay, I just gotta stop you. The fact that you knew it was a Lauren Daigle song. I like the song, I just didn't know it was a Lauren Daigle. Who is it?
Laura Daigle.
Daigle, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Now you got it.
In case you didn't figure this out, what I don't do is I don't really help with worship. So this is not
he
my
doesn't.
thing.
He does not. But I love the message that Dan gave about using these flaming tongues that we're given for positive things. So we've all written down our positive things. Hopefully you guys are putting in the comments, positive comments about yourself, positive comments about those that are closest to you. Alex, give us, what did you write down?
Well, before we even go what I wrote down, I think it's even more important this is so important right now in the midst of what we're in. I mean, it is I really feel it's just a spiritual battle going on of being negative with things is so much easier than being positive right now. I feel like the negativity is so fast, so it grows, it's contagious. And so when we can be positive, it actually can be contagious as well. So I was just writing down about my wife, and I'm married to Elaine, and she is, we balance each other out so well. She's such an amazing woman. And just what I wrote is just that I thank God for my wife, the fact that we're equally yoked. And I mean that in the sense of in our marriage, we're raising teenagers, which if you have teenagers or have had them, you know what that means.
Good
right?
job. Good job. That's all I want to say.
So just so that we can be there and that God brought us together, because there are days that I'm not the most positive, and then there's days that she's the one that picks me up, and then vice versa. There, she's not, and I'm there for her. So that's what I wrote.
Mine talked about, I have been on this journey for a year and a half about being more positive in my life, even before COVID started. So this is something I've really been working on, and I wrote down some positive things about my son. He's amazing. He's straight A student in the midst of all of this online school and that sort of thing. But I also, for my faith, I wrote down, really my job is connected to my faith. And it's an amazing, positive environment to be here, and to just work with all of you guys and be able to put more positive vibes out into the world. So that's what I put down for my faith, is just, I know that I'm a child of God. I know He loves me. He created me to be who I am, and to be able to put positive vibes out for you guys.
That's good. Nice. Well, so for you guys out there watching, we hope that you can share, write down, even if you're not one that wants to write in comments, I'm not going to say it's okay, but whatever, that's fine. But at least write down, and then find somebody you can share it with. Hopefully there's somebody in your life you can either text it to, or if you can, you can write in the comments and go outside your, maybe that safety zone that you don't like. Oh, I'm not that person that writes on comments.
You can always tag us too. You can tag Gold Creek Community Church if you're on Facebook. You can tag Crystal DeHaan if you're on Facebook. You can mention us on YouTube. We will see your comments even after this live video is over, if you want to keep putting them in there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, don't at me on Facebook.
Don't at Alex. He won't answer you.
I don't go on
I
there,
will.
I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm in trouble now, whoops, oh well.
Oh, it's fine, it's all good. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Make sure you share this with your friends if it was impactful to you, and we'll see you next week.